Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use and is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107.
My earliest memories of football was playing at recess and catching my first touchdown in 3rd grade and the team of the 80s, the San Francisco 49ers. As an elementary school student, there wasn't anywhere I could go that I didn't see the 49ers, a 49ers jacket, team of the 80s crap, Jerry Rice, Joe Montana, going to Disneyland. I didn't know anything about football, but I knew Joe Montana was my hero. The first game that I actually sat down and watched was the 1990 NFC Championship, where Joe Montana got his back broke by Leonard Marshall and the 49ers were eventually defeated. I remember crying during this game, and I remember watching the fumble from Roger Craig and just thinking, how can my heroes, how can the 49ers lose? I remember crying. It was the first time I was emotionally manipulated by a sporting event. The next year, in the 1990-91 season, Barry Sanders of the Detroit Lions started going off and had his first All-Pro season. That year, Mike Utley also broke his neck and inspired the Thumbs Up Detroit Lions motto for the rest of the season, which Wayne Fontes led them to the NFC Championship, where Andre Ware threw the game away, basically, and got routed in over 35-point defeat to the Washington Redskins, who eventually went on to become the NFL champions. The next season saw the start of the Cowboys dynasty, and in my opinion was the golden era of professional football. 1994 saw the 49ers get a Super Bowl that cemented Steve Young's career, Merton Hanks' long neck, and Deion Sanders as being one of the best corners in the league. Throw in a couple more Cowboy victories, and then that leads us to Brett Favre and the Packers. Although at the time I didn't realize that this was the beginning of the NFL's drama and storyline. Brett Favre, coach's son, gets the victory. Reggie White, heart of gold, preacher guy, gets a Super Bowl win. Desmond Howard, Heisman winner, Michigan guy, gets the Super Bowl MVP. It all started getting too convenient. And then leading into John Elway's back-to-back Super Bowl victories. The little brother, the California kid, finally gets his Super Bowl victory. This one's for John. We all remember that. And I remember thinking just how convenient it was that he won 2 Super Bowls back-to-back on his way out after not being able to win any before that. The next season, we see the NFL roll out the greatest show on turf. The St. Louis Rams had the best offense we've ever seen, and just a made-for-TV movie storyline. The crybaby coach who finally gets his win. The all-American boy who was bagging groceries before he played football. I mean, this is a movie in the making. The 2000 Super Bowl was kind of a throwaway Super Bowl just to pad the stats of Ray Lewis and the Baltimore Ravens. This is by far the worst Super Bowl I've ever seen in my life. The 2001 NFL season was postponed due to the events of September 11th, when not 2, but 3 buildings all fell at free fall speed. Another thing that fell on the first game back of the NFL season was Drew Bledsoe, longtime All-Pro quarterback, got taken out by not 1 but 2 Jets, just like the Twin Towers. How convenient. And this led to the beginning of the Tom Brady era, who essentially is a complete turd ball quarterback and never would have made it to Michigan. No way he would have got offered a scholarship as the 7th on the depth chart. Just like the Drew Henson fake quarterback controversy, this guy's whole career has been contrived to make him look better than he was. We all know how the 0-1 regular season ended, and it wouldn't have been a thing if it wasn't for the Tuck rule. This is the first major controversy that I remember just writing off and saying, oh, well, it's just some rule or something. But clearly this was the first major red flag of rigging, and this was Paul Tagliabue's swan song as he left the NFL in just a few years after this. But this play led to the Patriots playing the Rams and Tom Brady getting his first Super Bowl victory, Adam Vinatieri running up, jumping, but this was officially the beginning of the rigged NFL era, and it was pedal to the metal. The 0-2 season is another major smoking gun for NFL rig controversy. The Raiders trade their coach to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they meet in the Super Bowl, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers happen to know all the plays that the Raiders are going to run. The Raiders go ahead and change the playbook. Jerry Rice, Tim Brown, Dwight Smith, go look them all up. '03, we get to see New England Patriots again in the Super Bowl, this time facing off against the Carolina Panthers and Jake Delhomme, resident tomato can, and Vinny Testaverde look-alike. Follow that up by another Patriots Super Bowl victory against the Philadelphia Eagles and the black shaming ceremony with McNabb, Terrell Owens, and Janet Jackson all getting proverbial shit on by the NFL. The next year, we get to see the Steelers win the Super Bowl in Jerome Bettis' hometown, and just like John Elway, Jerome Bettis rides off in the sun, winning one on the way out, cementing his Hall of Fame career, going against a team that sucked, full of guys that just were tomato cans, and on the back of Willie Parker, a running back who had a great season compared to Jerome Bettis, and Jerome Bettis really shouldn't have even played in the Super Bowl with as bad as he was, and the amount of yards that he was able to maintain, and the yards per carry. Jerome Bettis had a terrible season and shouldn't have even been playing. And Goodell doubled down on his drama now that he was in charge, and his next year was to cement Peyton Manning in his bullshit career as they sent the Colts to the Super Bowl against the no-name Bears, who were led by the no-name quarterback, Sexy Rexy Grossman, and this game was clearly just to pad the stats of Peyton Manning. And the next year we get to see the 16-0 New England Patriots with a fake record of Randy Moss and Tom Brady getting 50 touchdowns. Most of Moss's touchdowns were him running wide open in the end zone, uncovered. But that led to the Super Bowl where the New York Giants and the magnet helmet catch of David Tyree and Eli Manning and Michael Strahan and their defense all beat the Patriots, and this was all to help Michael Strahan and his talk show career, and also Eli Manning and his underdog, I'm the only one that ever beat the Patriots. The next season, we see the Steelers versus the Cardinals in the Super Bowl in what my opinion is just a throwaway game that was only there to help, cement Ben Roethlisberger as a Hall of Famer, and Santonio Holmes and the toe tap chat, Jerome Harris with the big touchdown. What was this Super Bowl for, guys? Next year, we've got the Colts versus the Saints, and a lot of people think this is right after Hurricane Katrina, but it was not. It was a couple years after, but it was right after they made major renovations to the Superdome. We all remember this. We all remember Hank Baskett banging that Kendra chick, but do we remember that Hank Baskett took that onside kick right off his face? Do we remember that Peyton Manning threw an interception to Tracy Porter to cement the game with a pick six? Do we remember that Tracy Porter also had a game-clinching interception just the week before in the NFC Championship when Brett Favre laid down and put the Saints over? The next year, we get to see the Green Bay Packers defeat the Pittsburgh Steelers in the Super Bowl, and this was clearly a career-padding game for Aaron Rodgers, Matthews, Hawk, all these turds. This is the first time we get to see the WWE belt get introduced. Charles Woodson gets a ring. All these careers, all these guys end up announcers. Next season, we've got the stupid Eli Manning-led Giants who end up coming in and beating the Patriots again in the Super Bowl. Ahmad Bradshaw almost fell in the end zone. I mean, whatever. It's just a stupid game. 2013, we've got the blackout game, which was just the biggest bullshit game. Another big smoking gun. Illuminati symbolism during the halftime show. We had Ray Lewis's swan song as he rode off. This leads to the next Super Bowl where the Seahawks just totally dismantled Old Man Manning and the Broncos for their first Super Bowl victory. But the only reason they were able to get to the Super Bowl that year was the NFC Championship against the Packers. They beat the Packers in the NFC Championship, and the only reason the Packers were there was because of the Ice Bowl 2. And now this is where another major smoking gun comes into the Rigg. The Ice Bowl was so profitable for the NFL that they had to have the Cowboys and the Packers play in this divisional series. So the week before, they robbed the Lions because the Lions were about to beat the Packers, and they robbed him with a Brandon Pettigrew. This was also the game that Dez Bryant got robbed, where the Dez Bryant no catch, which meant that the Packers went to the NFC Championship when more than likely the Cowboys were going to go. This was a whole bunch of crap, and this was right around the time that they were doing a lot of no-call pass interference calls and whatnot. And just like this Brandon Pettigrew no-call pass interference, we were seeing this over and over and over throughout the seasons, where there'd be a deep pass, no contact, but a pass interference would get called, or a pass interference wouldn't get called. This was starting to become a problem, and this Brandon Pettigrew play was a big time. And in Detroit, we had been long aware of getting robbed by the umps and the refs and stuff. I mean, everyone in Detroit remembers sad man umpire Tim Joyce, who screwed the perfect game for Galarraga by calling him safe when he clearly was out. So we were all on the heels of this in Detroit. So when this happened to Brandon Pettigrew, we weren't freaking out. It was just kind of par for the course, especially after in 2010 when we had to complete the process. So we'd been beat up a lot as Lions fans. We'd been the laughing stock for the NFL for years. So they had no problem dogging us out with the Brandon Pettigrew, no pass interference. But when it came down to the Cowboys and the Dez Bryant play, that was something that kind of had to be addressed by the NFL. The next season, the Rigg hits hyperdrive as the Patriots meet the Seahawks in the Super Bowl, and it was the famous Malcolm Butler interception. They didn't run it to Marshawn Lynch on the goal line. They decided to throw a quick slant. Another smoking gun for people, and this was another game that just had people walking away from the NFL. There's no way that you'd have a running back like Marshawn Lynch and an offense like Seattle did, and in that situation, not run the ball. It was only second down. You would not throw that slant pass there. This was clearly just to get the Patriots over again. Big energy harvesting, paying back Pete Carroll for God knows what he did or what he owes him. The smoking guns just keep piling up, and in the next season, we get to see the Carolina Panthers have a huge year and a super strong running team. I think they were like 15-1. Cam Newton was just going off. They had Jonathan Stewart. They had a huge running game. Ron Riviera, Mike Shula were the coaches. This was the year we were going to see old school football come back. You know, we were finally going to see Cam Newton, one of our favorite physical players, come out and run the read option like we've never seen and just tear it up. And that's what happened. I mean, they went huge that year, 15-1, tons of rushing yards. Cam Newton was the MVP that year, and they faced off against the Denver Broncos, who were a pretty good passing team, but not with Peyton Manning as the quarterback. Peyton Manning had just had neck surgery, or his neck was fused or something. It was a really bad season for him, and Brock Osweiler took the majority of the snaps that season and had a better QBR, had more yards. Interception to touchdown ratio was way better. And if you remember, Peyton Manning could barely even throw the ball. When he got put in the Super Bowl, there was a ton of controversy about why he was in, and they weren't going with Osweiler. And that was before the Super Bowl. And when that happened, that's when people started to pay a little attention to things like, why was Manning even in the game? He didn't throw the ball over 20 yards the whole game. And if we remember this game, the post-game interview was real suspect. And also what was suspect, Cam Newton not jumping on this fumble. Cam Newton was one of the most physical players throughout his career, and especially this season, where he would lay his body on the line for the game of football. So the fact that he didn't jump on that football because he didn't want to get hurt was a complete smoking gun and clear evidence that the Panthers were instructed to throw this game so Peyton Manning could retire with a Super Bowl victory. No doubt in my mind. This was when I walked away from football. Another big red flag for the NFL was the Atlanta famous 28-3 lead that they blew in the Super Bowl against the Patriots, and the Patriots ended up winning, coming back next season only to lose it to the Philadelphia Eagles in a game that I still can't figure out why the NFL had the Eagles win. Was it just to throw a bone to the city? I'm not sure. But for the Eagles to play the Patriots in the Super Bowl, they had to face off against Minnesota, and Minnesota also had to face off against New Orleans. And this is where we got to see the Minnesota Miracle, where Marcus Lattimore, the defensive back for the Saints, just completely whiffed Stephon Diggs and let him go in and score. And this was another major red flag that had a bunch of people leaving the NFL because they could see that not only the star players were being instructed to throw games, but also just regular players like the defensive back Marcus Lattimore. And this was in the era of the NFL where we were seeing a lot of pass interference plays that weren't getting called or were getting called. And this led to the next Super Bowl where the Patriots met the Rams. And for the Rams to have gotten to the Super Bowl, they had to go through New Orleans, where we got to see the next major smoking gun, like 3 in a row here, where the the defensive back for the St. Louis Rams or the LA Rams went up and hit the guy from the Saints way before, causing what should have been a pass interference call, but this was the famous no pass interference call that made the NFL change a rule so that they could have a red flag to throw on a non-called pass interference. That was so bad it broke the facade. But the next year, we get to see the upstart 49ers against the darling of the NFL, Kansas City Chiefs, and Pat Mahomes, Andy Reid, blah, blah, blah. They get a Super Bowl for these guys to pat their stats and to usher in the next era. And then we got the 2020 season, which was marred by the pandemic, and the NBA closed. There was no fans in the stands. And, of course, we get the first home Super Bowl in Tampa Bay that is won by the home team. So this was like a throwaway season for the NBA and the NFL. And for the Buccaneers to get to the Super Bowl that year, they had to play the Green Bay Packers. And I could have swore this was a John Boy Media video that he used to have, but he used to have a video where it showed Kevin King of the Green Bay Packers basically just letting Scotty Miller score all these touchdowns. And this was the first time that I saw the defensive back doing the traditional arm wave. I'm running so fast, I'm falling over. This was the first I saw of the new NFL defensive scheme, defensive plays. I mean, the holding, the over exaggerating, getting beat by a slow white receiver. I mean, this was the time where I would go out and I would just do leaves and rake leaves, or I would go hunting, or just do anything besides watch football. I could not stand what the new football had become, and it was rigged. And sports betting just became legal in 2021. And I got lucky one day. I didn't have any chores to do, so I got to turn on the Week 1 2021 season 49ers versus the Lions game, and this is what was the inspiration for me to start this channel. So I turned this game on in the third quarter when the 49ers were just about to score again. They were up 31-10, and they were just running a train on the Lions. And the spread was set at 8.5 points, that the Niners would beat them by 8.5 points. So tons of people bet that the 49ers would have no problem dismantling the Lions. So right after the Debo score, we get to see the Lions all of a sudden playing just awesome football. And I remember seeing how suspect this was, and then the fact that this cupcake touchdown got ran in. Then the next play was a 2-point conversion wide open to Hawkinson. So I looked at the score and I checked the spread, and I says, holy shit, look at this. If the Lions come back and lose by under 8, it's rigged for Vegas. So the very next play was this smoking gun onside kick, and pay attention to 83, the backup tight end guy. Watch him go for the ball 2 times during this onside kick and not pick up the ball, just like Cam Newton did. So as soon as I seen this scrub ass third string backup tight end, yeah, you right there, white boy. As soon as I seen him do this on this play, it was confirmed in my mind that every single player in the NFL is aware of the rig and is scripted. There's no way that this backup scrub tight end is going to be aware of not letting this kick through. And then just so happens it bounces off George Kittle's face. The Lions get the ball back. Next thing you know, another drive where they're looking like the damn team from Hoover High. Remember from MTV, Hoover High? Whatever. So they end up running down the field looking like the best offense you ever seen, just to get a touchdown, just to get another 2-point conversion, all to lose the game by 8 points. So the 49ers still won, but the spread wasn't covered. So this is right when I knew that Vegas was manipulating the games. This led to me starting my channel, and this led to me to be where I'm at right now with the Rigged NFL. So I helped bring in the play breakdowns on the Rigged NFL. I've been imitated, I've been copied, and I really helped, along with other OGs that were down, build this genre. So I'm so proud of what I did with the Rigged NFL genre, and this was my story as far as what brought me to making Rigged NFL content. So yeah, that's the story, y'all.